30 creepy missing persons cases. According to Reddit, number 30. I've been digging into missing 411, and there's very unsettling and seemingly unexplainable missing persons cases in the American national parks. For those of you who are unaware of what the missing 411 is, it's literally over 400 missing cases, not limited to people that have disappeared in the American national parks, but in the American West, places like Oregon. There are cases where people genuinely turn their head for a moment, only to turn back and see that who they were near has straight up disappeared. What makes many of these cases particularly peculiar is that they leave no trace. They'll call out a search party, they'll comb the area, they won't find a scrap, a shred of anything. We're talking about getting canines involved, and they can't find anything. In some of the cases, children have disappeared and then returned like a year or two later. There are some cases where the FBI gets involved and for whatever reason starts restricting information pertaining to the case from the abductees' families and people that are close to it. It's absolutely nonsense. But in some pretty intense cases, they've gone after the families, saying that they were drunks or they were on drugs or that they deliberately killed their kids. It's pretty awful stuff. But as we go up the list of creepy missing persons cases, we arrive at number 29. There's this couple of girls that went missing in the town not far from where I live. The kids were taking a walk across a railroad bridge. They were taking Snapchat videos as they were walking. As they neared the middle of the bridge, they turned and noticed a man following them onto the bridge. They got him on video. Atta girl. You could tell the dude had malicious intent. Ugh. There we go. They went missing shortly after, and they took shortly after they took the video. That sucks. Sad stuff. They still haven't been found. Jesus Christ. But do we have the Snapchat video? It has been brought to my attention that their bodies were found shortly after they went missing. Oh, he edited his post. He edited the post, which means people in the comments probably said to him, no, they found the killer, or the bodies. Evidently, the killer is still on the loose. This was in Indiana. That sucks. Someone says, are you talking about this? Risky click. Voice of a killer. Snapchat murder. Girls 14 and 13 years old. Recorded suspected killing, ordering them down the hill. Oh no, after taking a photo of him with their phones. Oh shit. Oh shit. That's the last fucking thing they did. Oh no. Wow. These poor little girls. You gotta prepare yourselves. You gotta stay in populated areas. They're young, so I can't say get a gun, but if your daddy's got a gun, steal the gun, something. You know what I'm talking about? Because you girls stand a pretty low chance even in populated areas. You have to try to stay safe. Number 28, pretty famous, but Henry McCabe. The most bizarre thing about his disappearance is a voicemail that he left. It had all sorts of noises where people speculate it could have been the sound of waterboarding or getting tasered. His family apparently misled the police a few times and his friends who were last seen with him made a series of poor decisions which led to his disappearance. It was also odd that the FBI got involved in all this. It's because they suspected foul play. As I said earlier, the creepiest thing I found is the voicemail of strange sounds that he left that no one can identify. Apparently there were a few recordings of it posted on the internet, yet no one has found the full audio anymore. Only bits and pieces. Nobody in the comments has the audio. Someone says the FBI gets involved in most missing persons cases. Well, ones where foul play is suspected. That's what I said. That's what I said. Well, number 27. The disappearance of UMass Amherst student Maura Murray. There are so many weird, disturbing details to her disappearance, but none give any true leads as to her whereabouts. Perhaps the creepiest element of the case is the suspicious actions of her father in days leading up to the disappearance. Maura was last seen after getting into a car accident in New Hampshire, but when the last witness came back after calling for help, she had left the car crash scene without any tracks in the snow. They say beware the rabbit hole that is the Maura Murray case. Well, I'm utterly curious now, but I don't want to lose too much time in this. Disappeared one evening after a car crash. On the afternoon of February 9th, before she left campus, she emailed her professors and work supervisor, writing that she was taking a week off due to a death in the family. No one in her family has been able to confirm the family death. Okay. In November, 3 months before her disappearance, Murray admitted to using a stolen credit card to order food. Oh. In her car, she packed clothing, toiletries, college textbooks, and both birth control pills. When her room was searched later, police discovered most of her belongings packed in boxes and art removed from the walls. It's not clear whether Murray packed them that day. The police asserted that she'd packed between Sunday and Monday morning. On top of the boxes was a printed email to Murray's boyfriend indicating trouble in their relationship. Murray withdrew $280 from an ATM. Closed circuit footage showed that she was alone. She purchased $40 worth of alcohol. What the fuck? The disappearance. Sometime after 7 p.m., a New Hampshire resident heard a loud thump outside of his house. Through her window, she saw that she could see a car up against a snowbank in Route 112. The car was pointed west. She telephoned to report the accident. At about the same time, another neighbor saw the car as well as someone walking around the vehicle. She witnessed a third neighbor pull up alongside the vehicle. That neighbor, a school bus driver returning home, noticed the woman was not bleeding, but cold and shivering. He offered to telephone for help. She asked him not to call the police. One police report said that she pleaded and assured him she'd already called AAA. AAA has no record of such a call. Knowing there was no cell phone reception in the area, the bus driver continued home and called the police. His call was received by a sheriff department at 7:43. He was unable to see Murray's car. What the hell is going on? At 7:46, the Haverhill police officer arrived at the scene. No one was inside or around the car. The impact had pushed the car's radiator into the fan, rendering it inoperable. The car was locked. Inside and outside of the car, he discovered red stains that looked to be red wine. Oh, she was drunk. Look, we don't have time for this. We don't have time for this. Number 26. Not creepy in a supernatural sense or anything, but definitely baffling. But the Someone Knows Something podcast has 2 seasons that discuss 2 missing persons cases in Ontario. It's an interesting name for a podcast, Someone Knows Something. The first season is about a 5-year-old boy who basically disappeared while fishing with his father and siblings in the 70s. The second season is about a 29-year-old woman who went missing in January of 1998. Both are still unsolved, and the guy doing the podcast explores a bunch of different theories and interviews people with connections to the case. That's creepy as fuck. I like the idea that it's like, somebody knows something, dude. Somebody knows fucking something. Number 25. For me, the creepiest is the disappearance of a Canadian boy named Michael Donaghy. He was aged 4. He vanished from a school playground with his parents close by, and there are no witnesses. Someone says, I remember when there was this guy in Vancouver that looked like him. He was about the right age and had a sketchy missing childhood. DNA showed that it wasn't him. But for a couple of weeks, we all had a little hope that that kid somehow managed to live through the kidnapping. Jesus Christ. The world is scary, man. Kidnapping kids, killing people, fuck me. Number 24, there's a book from 1983 called Stranger Than Science by Frank Edwards. I read this a long time ago, but there's a story that still creeps me out. I may not remember the whole story correctly, but it was about a man who disappeared while walking across his front yard. Some family members could hear him calling faintly for help weeks after he disappeared. He was never found. I've heard this, dude. I've heard this. Something about him walking, and then there was something about the spot that he disappeared into, and they could hear this guy. Super creepy shit. Oh, did I hear it in a documentary? Man. Number 23. My great aunt Kimberly Ann Langwell. She went missing in Beaumont, Texas in July of 1999. She went to Eckerd's one night and disappeared. Speaking of disappearances, what the fuck happened to Eckerd's? Maybe they just don't exist in certain parts. Or did Eckerd's become CVS? Wait a minute. CVS signs are going up across Florida as we rapidly convert acquired Eckerd stores to CVS pharmacy. Yep, CVS acquired Eckerd's. Open and shut case, ladies and gentlemen. The disappearance of Eckerd's has been solved. My great aunt Kimberly Ann Langwell, she went missing in Beaumont, Texas in July of 1999. She went to Eckerd's one night and disappeared. Her car and her personal belongings, except for her car keys and purse, were at the scene. No one has seen her since that night. Please Google her, and if you have seen her, please call your local police station. That sucks. That sucks. Scary shit. Scary shit. Number 22, not necessarily creepy, but the disappearance of Sky Metalwala. The mother clearly did it. Her version of events don't add up at all, but she's never been arrested. The crazy thing is, a rerun of Law and Order aired on local TV the night before the disappearance, and the circumstances of the case on the episode are eerily similar to the real life case. Like, this bitch was sitting down, watched the show, and was like, yeah, I'ma do that, yeah. Hello to everyone in the stream chat. Jalen is saying, hi, Kyle, I love you. That's sweet. I hope someone loves me. I hope someone loves me. Not enough to kidnap me, though. That might be a little excessive. As we travel up this list of 30 creepy missing persons cases, let's give this last one a little bit more love. It says, this kid disappeared, and the mom, I guess, watched a show that was similar. Oh no, they're little babies. On the morning of November 6, Sky Metalwala was reportedly sick. His mother, Julia Biryokova, said she put him and his older sister in the car along a Bellevue street to go to a nearby hospital. Along the way, she stated that she ran out of gas, leaving Sky in the car while she went to get help. When she returned, he was gone and has not been seen since. The situation was reported to police, who soon came to doubt Biryokova's account, since her car was found to have enough gas in its tank and was in working order. Okay, woman. It also shared similarities with an episode of Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, that had been rebroadcast in the Seattle area that night before, shortly before Biryokova had decided to withdraw from a mediated custody agreement. That was the last stage of an acrimonious divorce from Sky's father. Solomon has remained active in assisting the police, believing Sky's disappearance was related to the custody dispute. Biryokova has been less than cooperative with police, although she claims to have no idea or no more idea than her ex-husband of what happened to Sky. Although there have been allegations that she neglected Sky when he was in her custody. The state child welfare agencies have tried to remove a child she had with a later husband with a history of abuse. Police have made a strategic decision not to charge her with child endangerment for leaving her son in the car on the day he disappeared, to keep their options open if they learn more about Sky's fate. Horrifying stuff. Looks like Nicholas Thorne says, we all love you, Kyle. How sweet. Oh, look at Faith. And Candy says, I love you. Just enough to allow you free will. I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. Number 21. A local girl my age went missing after hanging out with her friends, and a friend is suspected. They never found the body, but they did find her DNA inside the trunk of the car. Jeez. It's only the creepiest for the very narcissistic reason that she and I are of similar demographics. Oh, like she was a young bitch and you a young bitch, so you're scared? Makes sense. And she knew her attacker well enough to feel safe walking alone with him at night. That's scary. What makes a person want to kill? Is it just the fact that they know they can get away with it? Do things go wrong? Do they intend to abuse and use this person, but then realize that keeping a body somewhere is actually very difficult? And it's the type of thing that attracts attention. Ooh. As we continue, number 18. Pedro Lopez is a serial killer who, at least according to himself, has killed more than 100 people. He spent some time in prison and at some point was freed, and his current whereabouts are unknown. This dude has killed more than 100 people and his whereabouts are unknown? Tell me this is Brazil. Or Colombia. Okay, Pedro Alonso Lopez is a Colombian serial killer. I'm sorry to those of you who are out there. Who is sentenced for killing 80 girls, but who claims to have raped and killed more than 300 girls. across his native country, then Peru and Ecuador, and possibly other countries. Aside from unsighted locals, Lopez's crimes first received international attention from an interview conducted by Ron Leitner, a longtime freelance journalist who reported interviewing Lopez in his Ambato prison cell in 1980. Fuck me, dude. We don't need no more of this. And he's out there on the loose, baby. He is out there on the loose. It's Adeja. Wonderful. I hope everyone's having a relatively good day. And if not, that we can do something about it. I have to knock this list out quick because life is going to be attacking me soon. Number 17. My would-be aunt was abducted and presumably murdered when she was a young girl, 7 years old if I recall correctly. The primary suspect was Ted Bundy, who lived down the street and was 14 at the time. My grandmother wrote to him while he was on death row, and he wrote back denying responsibility. My mom and the deceased share a bedroom and were very close in age. There's a book about it, very creepy in general, but especially to me, considering it could have easily been my mom and I never would have existed. The woman in the article below is my deceased grandmother. Nope. Number 16, what about baby Azadia Chamberlain, whose mother claimed a dingo took her baby? That turned out to be true. It turned out to be true. They gave that woman so much shit. A dingo took my baby, ha ha ha. And then it turned out to be true. While she was camping 32 years ago, the coroner finally ruled that a dingo did take her baby up. Also, in Portland, Oregon, little Kyron Horman was dropped off at his grade school by his stepmother, never to be seen again. Big story in Portland area and lots of searches and accusations towards the stepmother, but no charges yet. Yeah, I know dingoes are scary as hell though. Let's check out a dingo. Let's check out a dingo. Interesting. Oh my god. No thank you. No thank you. Let's get out of here. Number 14. The Schulze family from Drage in Lower Saxony. These are words, ladies and gentlemen. Husband Marco, 41 at the time, his wife Sylvia, 43 at the time, and their daughter Miriam, 12 at the time, went missing from their home in Drage. All three of them? Fuck. Nowhere to be found. Marco's body was found a week later in the Elbe River. He had a concrete block attached to his legs with a rope. Sylvia and Miriam, though, remain unfound to this day. They're being used, dude. That's awful. Their house was just emptied, and all of their personal belongings and everything will be sold. The money will be put into a secure bank account until they find out who will inherit it. Sylvia can't be pronounced dead yet. Oh no, man. Fuck. That shit's chilling as hell, man. Come on. Number 13, my sister. She went missing during high school. She started hanging with the wrong crowd, got into drugs, disappeared one day. 2 years went by, not a word. Then one day, my mom spotted the truck of a guy she was seeing when she went missing. It was parked at a hotel. We have a few police in our family, so they went to check it out. Sure enough, it was her with this scummy guy. Well, she found her daughter. The guy was wanted, went to jail. Sister went to rehab. She is now a college grad, clean for over 10 to 15 years. Has 2 beautiful kids and a genuinely great husband. She is a living success story. Well, thank the fucking mom who was always looking out for her missing baby. That's my baby. God damn. Holy bing bong. Well, As we travel up the list of 30 creepy missing person stories, we arrive at number 12. My daughter stopped in the same spot every day while walking home from school. Then my wife or I would book her up. I argued and eventually convinced them that it was not okay. She needed to either stay at school or walk home. About a couple of days later, a car was stopped across the street. 2 guys, older teenagers, hanging out, doors open, listening to music. When my daughter was across the street, one of the guys started sprinting towards her. She ran, and the guy stopped chasing her after about a block. She told me about it, and I thought it was nothing. Just teenagers screwing with a little kid. Then she told me that when one of the guys started chasing her, the other guy turned up the music, blasting it loud. That made my blood run cold. To cover up the screams. This was premeditated. They were there to kidnap that chick. They were observing her. It was no longer a couple of guys screwing around. It was someone who noticed her pattern and had a plan. Oh my God. Oh my bing bong. What the fuck? Faith says she forgot her rings and feels naked. Kira says she's gotta go. As we go to number 11, Johnny Gosch. A kid gets kidnapped while doing his morning paper bow route. Number 11, Johnny Gosch. A kid gets kidnapped while doing his morning paperboy route, and more than likely forced into sex slavery for pedophiles. It's the kid rape. It's the kid rape entry on the Kyle list. Mother claims that Johnny visited her at night 15 years later, talked with her for an hour while another man watched, and then vanished again. Jesus Christ. 10 years later, a manila envelope shows up on her doorstep with pictures of Johnny bound and gagged. The rabbit holes goes much, much deeper. What the fuck? I watched the documentary, and if I recall, they even found another guy who claimed to have been forced to help like Johnny was. He described a safe house the sex slavers had, and they found one exactly like he described, down to even the crawl space under the back porch. And politicians were involved, of course. It went cold after that. Look, man, a lot of people in Hollywood and on the top seats of government, they fuck little boys. And I don't even think they're into it. I think there's just something about the taboo nature of it where it's like frowned upon, where it's like, you're not supposed to do this. That helps them get off. It's sick. Holy shit. Number 10, man. Imagine allowing your little kid to be a little paper boy. Some innocent ass shit. Get him out of the house. You know what I'm talking about? That's what all old people are all about. You know, because they don't understand the world or the internet as a window to the rest of the world. They don't know that you can reach genuinely billions of people from your bedroom. All they see is you shut up in your room, and that's not healthy. Get that boy outside. Outside is where the monsters are, though. This little boy doing some innocent shit, you know what I mean? Populated area, what could go wrong? And he's kidnapped. And they didn't just put a bullet in this little nigga's brain and end his life and bring everybody around him peace eventually because the kid's dead. They sold him into sexual slavery with other men sticking their dick up his butt. You see what I'm saying? And half of these moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas telling little Timmy to get his ass outside because sitting inside watching TV ain't good for him. Can't be sitting on a laptop. He shouldn't be playing no video games. Need to get him some legs out there in the real world. You know what I mean? And it's this lack of awareness of the terrors in the world in which we live that people, they pay the ultimate price for. I feel terrible for this kind of shit. Some innocent shit, man. Paperboy. And they got this dude locked in a dungeon, sucking and taking other politician dudes inside their body. There it is, number 10. A local one for me, but the case of Dakota James, too long didn't read. A Pittsburgh college student named Dakota James goes missing. Police say he fell in a river. City residents disagree. A bunch of guys went missing around that time, and they all had the same gay dating app on their phone. Oh. Somebody said, I remember when they ruled his death an accident. Like, yeah, of course. People accidentally falling into the river all the time is so common here. Look, man, number 9. This one has 2. Number 1, Brandon Swanson on the phone with his dad when he exclaims, "Oh shit," and is never heard of, from, or seen again. Holy shit. And number 2, Sarah and Jacob Hoggle. Their mother took them somewhere safe and has never told anyone where that was or what happened. She also apparently has paranoid schizophrenia and is not competent to stand trial. She killed them kids. Somebody says, oh geez, that second one, somewhere safe, is just giving me a gut-wrenching feeling coming from someone mentally unstable. You damn right, as it should. As it should, you damn right. You damn right, as it should. As it should, you damn right. Somebody else responds, Hoggle, whom police say was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, said she left her children with someone where they would be safe. She has refused to say where they are, and authorities have said that they believe the children are dead. But Sarah and Jacob's father are still holding out hope. She possibly killed my children. But at the same time, I think that they're out there. I don't think that feeling, I don't have that feeling inside of me that they're not with me anymore. Oh boy. Number 8, man. So we travel up this list of 30 creepy missing persons cases. We do reach number 8. And this could be spaced just a little bit better. How about that? And why don't we get a little bit of them bookmark actions on the top of the screen now? Not that much, but there you go. Bing bong. I shouldn't be laughing at this, but something about the way that Stripe spelled breaking without an E. It's crazy. I need to finish this list. Number 8, this one is heart-wrenching. I was absorbed in it when it was still going on, but it's been a while since I looked into it. Apparently Susan went missing and her husband said he took his kids late night camping, leaving in the middle of the night and returning the next day, in the middle of winter, and his wife was gone when he returned. So much points to him murdering her. Her phone and belongings were still at home. Her family didn't hear from her. She had made it clear that if something happened to her, her husband was responsible. He had been abusive and possessive. Oh, and a large wet spot on the carpet with a fan blowing on it when police arrived. And the kids saying that they knew they'd never see their mom again, and that she wasn't around when they were awoken in the middle of the night and put into the front seat of the van to go camping. Very, very sad ending, where it came out that the husband's father was involved with child pornography, and the husband never got charged. He moved the kids out of state eventually and exploded the house they were living in with all 3 of them inside. Wow. It can't get any more intense than this one. I'll tell you that right now. Number 7. Oh, this was working alone. This girl that was working alone got dragged out of a gas station, all seen on camera. The footage was so bad, they couldn't figure out who it was, so they put out a message in the paper with his coat description. Someone eventually saw their janitor always wears that coat. They go to the guy's house and search nonstop over and over again, and they find a single burned tooth in the backyard. It would have been inconclusive, but the girl had gone to a dentist conference and got a just on the market filling that only like 2 people in the world had. So they caught the guy. Wow. So it looks like going to the dentist is something that can actually help you. Boom shakalaka. Jesus, this is a long one. Number 6, the disappearance of Asha Degree. This case isn't as creepy as in the Twilight Zone. As in the Twilight Zone plays, but it's that she had a good family. She was a good kid. Everything should have been fine and without risk, and the girl still vanished. What, like only disappearances happen with like bad situations or something? Come on. February 14th, 2000. Asha Degree is 9 years old. It is not only Valentine's Day, but her parents' wedding anniversary, and Asha is missing. Adults in her life sheltered her to a fault. There was no computer or internet in the home, no cell phone. Asha's friends were from church or school. No one she interacted with was an unknown. A stranger would have no access to her. She was either at church with family, school, at a relative's home, or her own home with her parents and brother. I say this to illustrate that even in the early days of chat rooms and messaging, Asha would not have been able or been using things like this to meet people online. Anyone unfamiliar in her life should have been quickly spotted. But what we know is that on the night of February 13th to the 14th, Asha crept out of bed, dressed, and brought a backpack with her as she went into the night. But for what? Asha was afraid of storms and dogs, yet that night it was pouring cold rain, and she was alone with no one to cling to as she usually would when walking past yards with dogs. She was an obedient child who did not break rules. At 2:30 a.m., her father is awake and checks on his children. They're both in bed, safe. 3:15 a.m., drivers on the Highway 18 think they see a little girl walking in the rain over a mile from the Degree home. When one driver circles around to check if the child needs help, the child runs off the road into the woods. If this was Asha, it is the last time she is seen alive. Has she managed to walk over a mile in such a short time? In driving rain? At night by herself? Or was there a car waiting for her outside of her house? Did she willingly climb in? Was she let out or did she escape? Candy wrappers, markers, and a hair bow are discovered in a shed backpack in the woods. In a shed back in the woods the child ran to. They belonged to Asha. A year later, during construction, her backpack is discovered buried in the ground, wrapped in several plastic bags. There has been no more clues as to what happened to this little girl. A popular theory is somehow she was lured out. Someone told her maybe it was a surprise party for her parents' anniversary. We know she packed family photos and a change of clothes, one outfit being somewhat dressy. Asha is a good kid who doesn't tell lies. She had to be convinced This was a good secret to keep. One that her parents will be happy she kept, and she won't be scolded for sneaking out and breaking the rules. This person would have had to have known her family and not stick out as strange when talking to her. But why is she walking along the road? Did she escape this person only to be recaptured? Another theory centers around the book she read in school, The Whipping Boy. In the book, the characters run away and have an adventure. But remember, Asha is scared of the dark, storms, and dogs. Why would she have a fun adventure on such a night? Why would she break so many rules along the way? It's out of character for her. This case is it just shouldn't have happened. The facts are simply bizarre, and what we know just doesn't seem to fit. The police ruled that out her parents, but could they know more? With no access to the internet, who could have manipulated a shy, obedient girl to fight against all her deep fears and vanish? Pretty creepy. Number 5. The Missing Germans. It's a long read, but it's fascinating. Basically, some German tourists decided to go on an adventure in Death Valley in a rented minivan, with no real idea how stupid that is. A fellow documents his attempts to find out what really happened to them. Because they're gone now. Somebody said, I read this a few weeks ago, they found the bodies, or at least bone fragments, right? Tragic case, but seems pretty standard in a family ventured too far where they shouldn't have, unprepared and made a slew of bad decisions under stress. Yeah, I think eventually they were all found over the course of years. He's got a great writing style that had me hooked. Man. Number 4, the Brandon Lawson case. Around 2 a.m., he was in a field in Texas and called 911. In the call, it's hard to hear what he says, but he sounds distressed and panicked. He cuts off, and that's the last he was heard from. His brother said he called him after, but he has yet to be found. It sounds like he said he ran into something and mentioned he was being chased in the woods. Somewhere else, someone edited the audio, and it sounds like gunshots in the background of the call. Allegedly, at 1 minute and 3 seconds, you can barely hear a faint "help me." Ugh. As we travel up this list of 30 creepy missing persons cases, why do I keep saying missings? We reach number 3. The daughter of my friend of my mother went missing a few years ago. While they were looking for her, news crews interviewed a few friends of hers from class who were distraught. During the interview, he said he hoped she could be found, and they informed him that they had just found a piece of her body. At this, he went pale and had to walk away and sit down on the sidewalk. Sometime it was later, and it was discovered that he was the one who did it. Oh my God. Is this a public case? Could I get links? That really sucks. Here is the interview. They tell him a body was found around the minute mark, and he completely loses his composure. Ooh. Holy shit. He did it. Stephen McDaniels, he did it. He did it. I'm gonna just drop the link in the chat. You guys can have that link. As we travel up to number 2, my mom's friend's son has been missing since November. The kid's 13 and has epilepsy, and his mom has been very shifty in her statements about it. It's just creepy to me because this is someone I know who is either dead or hidden. There's just no way the kid's been out in the wilderness living this entire time. Oh no. And number 1 on the list of 30 creepy missing persons cases is about the 2 Dutch girls who got lost in the jungle in Panama. They went for a day hike, didn't turn back, and apparently got lost deep in the forest during the rainy season. The creepiest thing is that their phones were discovered in a backpack downriver, fully intact, along with a camera that had photos. Normal, happy photos of them on the trail taken just an hour before their internal phone records showed they started trying to call 911, or the equivalent for help. And 90 other photos taken in the rainy darkness in the middle of the night between 1 and 4 a.m. a week after they disappeared, methodically showing a cliff and some bushes and some impromptu markers made of what little things they had brought with them. Fragments of their bodies, bones, and a boot with a foot still in it were found a couple months later. But nobody really knows for sure how they died. Accident on the trail, fell into the rapids, murdered that someone was playing with their phones? Don't know. Story creeped them out big time. Guys, I love you to death, but real life's attacking. I gotta go figure some things out. Special thanks to all my patrons for being incredible humans and doing what you do. Wouldn't be able to attack the world without you. I will see you guys soon. There are some new patrons I'm gonna have to put onto these lists, and hopefully I'll be able to stream tonight, as well as maybe even hook up another recorded list. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope to hear more from you soon. Love you all. Gotta go.